lot of those types of cars. And just me and old cars, I love them. So we spent hours in that place just walking around, looking at cars, asking questions of they had a very informative docent there at the car museum in Sarasota. And next door they had it wasn't a museum, but it was like a used car lot with all kinds of classic cars for sale. And most of them were out of my price range, I would say, but maybe all of them. They had a nice MG there for about $20,000, but they also had a very nice Maserati there for $300,000. So again, if you have a place like that in an area, you have to make the assumption that there's a little bit of money in the town of Sarasota. Came back, after that, came back to the hotel. By then, it had stopped raining. The sun was out. It was getting warm. So we went up for a swim, a nap, a little bit of reading, had lunch poolside, took another nap, looked up at the clock. Oops, it's 5 o'clock. It's happy hour. So we went downstairs, showered, took the pool off of us, the salt from the pool, and had happy hour. Okay. Then we went to dinner, tried to go to dinner at a place called Owen's Fish Camp. Okay. So I called for reservations. We don't take reservations. Okay. Well, fine. So we went, checked in. It's going to be an hour and a half wait. Well, I don't wait an hour and a half for dinner. I don't care where it is. So we had to find a place. We actually went to Siesta Key, which is part of Sarasota, but it's a key. It's an island, just off to the west in the bay. And we found a place called the Daiquiri Deck, which was fine. I mean, it was your typical, you sit outside, you sit at a picnic table, you order a fish sandwich, and it costs too much. But you know what? That's okay. They had music there. Yeah, you're paying extra for the music. To me, and maybe this is the old man in me, but to me, the music was a bit loud, and I couldn't talk to my wife. Again, maybe that's the old man in me. But, the food was fine. A grouper sandwich is never a bad thing. We walked around, took it easy, went back to the hotel, and watched the Cardinals lose on the Fox Sports Go app. I guess it's called maybe it's still the Fox Sports Go app. I don't know. Maybe it's now called the Bally's Sports Go app. I don't know. But you can watch them on the internet. Watch them lose. Excuse me. Day 3, we met friends for lunch in Fort Myers. Ate at a wonderful place called Christoph's on McGregor. McGregor is like the main stretch that goes through Fort Myers. McGregor is also where the Edison Ford Museum is. So had nice lunch with friends. Discovered a fish. Had a fish on a salad called a triple tail. Never heard of that fish, but it's quite tasty. A white fish, not unlike maybe a halibut, like just a mild white fish. Okay, it was grilled on a bed of spring greens. It was wonderful. After lunch, we went and toured the Edison Ford Museum, which I'm glad we did that. And I've been reading a book about Thomas Edison. In fact, I just finished that book about Thomas Edison. It was written by Edmund Morris, who has written books about Ronald Reagan. He wrote 3 about Theodore Roosevelt. I read all of them. He's got one book on Beethoven I haven't read yet. So I guess the Beethoven book will be one of the next books that I read because I really like this guy as an author. And he actually died before he finished this book and had a guy finish it up for him. But Edmund Morris is dead. He hasn't written any more books, but it was a wonderful backwards chronological life of Thomas Edison, who was an interesting guy, who a genius, yes, but to say he was a flawed human being is being kind. Not a good husband, not a good father. In fact, he just kind of ignored his family because he was always working. Thomas Edison used to say, you can't get anything done in a 40-hour week. So he'd work 2 and 3 days at a time sometimes. He wouldn't go home for a week or 2 at a time, just live in his laboratory. But I toured the museum, and it showed all of the Edison, or many of the Edison inventions. And they also had Henry Ford, who was Edison's buddy, who actually lived next door to him there in Fort Myers, and just loved it. And they were buddies, they were friends until Edison's death. They were close friends. In fact, after Edison died, Ford kind of lost interest in the place and really never went back, because it was more of his friendship for Edison that caused him to live down there in Fort Myers, or at least stay down there in Fort Myers. What did Thomas Edison invent? The list is really too long to list. I mean, sure, he invented the light bulb. Everybody knows that. But he also invented countless improvements for the telegraph, which in the 1860s, that was the main mode of communication. Copy machines. He did the precursor to a copy machine. The phonograph, motion pictures. He was the first guy to make motion pictures. He had a motion picture studio. He was the first guy to produce motion pictures. Of course, the light bulb. He perfected the dynamo generator to take something and to create electricity. Concrete. He had factories that made concrete. Iron ore. He mined iron ore. The last thing he did, he got into botany, which he was big into there in Fort Myers. His buddy Ford had tires for cars. His buddy Firestone made tires. And at that time, tires were made of real live rubber. And the vast majority, virtually all of it, came from Malaysia. At that time, they called it Malaya, and was a colony of Great Britain. And the Brits basically controlled the rubber industry. And if they decided what the price was going to be, you had to pay it. And Edison, Ford, and Firestone didn't like that. So Edison actually worked on developing a plant that they could produce latex, latex is what you make rubber from. And he experimented with countless exotic plants, many of which are still growing down there at the Edison home. The biggest one he found that could be farmed, milled, and manufacture latex was goldenrod. So yeah, goldenrod was the best plant that he found. Unfortunately, it never came to fruition because it cost too much money, and it wasn't worth the cost. And then Edison died before he could perfect that, because many times the electric light bulb wasn't cost effective either originally, but as he worked on it longer, he always perfected that stuff, most always. He died before he could perfect making latex out of goldenrod. But just a fantastic individual, a wonderful man, again, a flawed human being to be true. But Thomas Edison, if you ever get a chance to read a book about him or see a documentary or visit the Edison Ford Museum, I would highly recommend it. After the museum, we went back to the hotel, had happy hour, watched the Cardinals lose again. Then we had a dinner cruise. The Marina, well, what was it called? The Marina something or another too. I should know the name of it. Marina Jack. The Marina Jack 2 was the name of the boat. And we had a nice dinner cruise into the Sarasota Bay. We just looked at the beautiful sunset, the bay, the fantastic houses, the unbelievable houses that are on the bay. And you know where the money comes from. I'm sure we didn't see a house that was worth less than $2 or $3 million on the whole 2-hour cruise. But it was a good dinner. And again, it was done very prudently with masks and social distancing. So we enjoyed it. After we came back from dinner, we went back to the pool, swam a little bit, and took a walk, actually, and then went to bed. It was a nice night. Day 4, Thursday. For the first time after breakfast, I took my first long walk to explore Sarasota. In fact, that's what I do when I go on vacation. I like to explore the area in which we are. Now, we got there Monday, didn't really explore it until Thursday, but that's okay. We had a full schedule. But I find that I can't know an area until I walk it. You can drive all you want, but when you walk it, it's slower. You see more, you can read more. I become acclimated with an area after I walk it. And I was able to walk it, okay? It was wonderful. And I learned the area a whole lot more. Came back, showered, and had lunch with my buddy Daryl Rowe. If you remember Daryl Rowe, he lived in St. Clair. We worked together on monetizing the James Strong Show. Daryl's done just about everything during his working days. Of course, he's retired now. Retired to Florida because the weather's better in Florida than it was in St. Clair. But it was good to see Daryl, and he's doing quite well. He looks good. Big smile as always. So we had lunch at Marina Jack's, which was a same company that owned the boat. Had a nice salad there, and just enjoyed the wonderful weather. Lunch was outside, as most everything is outside in Florida. Came back, went to the pool, took a nap in the sun, watched the supercars some more. Then we had happy hour. You see a trend here? Go to the pool, take a nap, watch the supercars, have a happy hour. That, my friend, is part of vacation. Dinner that night was in St. Armand's Circle on St. Armand's Key, okay, a place called Columbia, which is a Spanish restaurant which has been around since 1905. And that was the best meal of the day, of the week, I should say. I had a grilled grouper with vegetables, asparagus, and mushrooms, and some Spanish rice. It was just very good. Again, crowded restaurant, but our table was outside, and we never got within 6 feet of people, sitting down anyway. And masks were required, even though we were outside, until you sit down. So again, it was done very prudently. After dinner, we walked around. We did some shopping in St. Armand's Circle. The big thing about many of these keys in Sarasota is there's a big push to ban or at least limit condos, hotels, bed and breakfasts, and VRBOs. Because this area is while many of these houses are, I'm sure, very expensive, they're rather modest, okay? These aren't mansions, but they're just in a very beautiful part of the country, and they don't want to ruin that. So there's a big push going on to limit or ban the condos, hotels, beds and breakfasts, VRBOs, rentals. They understand they have the tourists, but enough is enough. They don't want to ruin what they have. Now, who will win out? Normally money does, but perhaps at least they can at least slow down the growth of too many tourists in that area. Spoken by a tourist, by the way. But I think they'd rather people just stay in Sarasota and then come down there for the day instead of put the high rise up in front of their areas. And with more people living in a place, you have sewer problems, you have traffic problems, etc. They don't want to give up their nice, quiet, laid back standard of living, and I can't blame them. So after Thursday comes Friday. Friday was the last day of a very good vacation. And here's how I know I've had a good vacation. If I'm sad because I don't want to go home, if I'm sad because I want to stay a little bit longer. And that's how I felt. We had our last Embassy Suites breakfast. I had my last walk around the bay, shower, pack, check out of the hotel, gas up the car, go to the airport. Okay. And the airport was very, very busy. All the planes were full. In fact, to get home, we had to go from Sarasota to Baltimore to St. Louis. Planes were very nearly packed. The St. Louis airport, when we got there, again, very, very busy. Now, it was a Friday night, which Friday nights at the airport are always very busy. But this was pre-pandemic busy. I haven't seen this airport this busy in years. In fact, I would say I've just seen this airport busy, this busy, St. Louis airport, this busy